In the primary, we saw a record number of mail-in ballots, about 68% here in our state, and the number could be even higher in the November election. This week, state lawmakers took up legislation to help town clerks count ballots. Secretary of the State Denise Merrill joins us on Face the State this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
This legislation, the intent really is because you're expecting town clerks to be overwhelmed with ballots. So it gives them an opportunity a few days before the election to do exactly what, and how will it help them?
Well, as you probably know by now, Connecticut's absentee ballot system is pretty complex. And so when people start getting their ballots, which should happen this week, there are envelopes and pieces of paper involved. So when you get your ballot, you fold it in half, you put it in the inner envelope, you sign it, and then you put that in an outer envelope. That is the one that identifies you and has the barcode on it. What this legislation will do was enable the town clerks to open just the outer envelope before Election Day. Normally, we do everything on Election Day, and it doesn't start till later in the morning. So previous legislation allows them to start actually counting ballots at 6 a.m. on Election Day, but nothing else. So this legislation extends that.
So to visualize it, you have the smaller ballot envelope in the larger envelope, and basically what this does is separate those two envelopes. It doesn't look into the ballot, so it's still protected, correct?
Correct, exactly. And we will have protocols so that that inner envelope and its ballot stay sealed until Election Day.
These town clerks have their hands full. I know they're already getting a lot of requests for ballots. And what are your concerns about the delays? I understand that this legislation may help in that direction, but there's been a lot of criticism that we may not know the results of the election for days, maybe a week.
Well, I mean, there are always some delays. And yes, I think that we have a very complicated system of checks and balances to make sure that absentee ballots are protected all along the way. That also causes more time. We have provided literally millions of dollars out to the towns to help them hire extra staff, make sure they have enough space to do all this work in advance. But still, I would anticipate it will take a little longer, maybe not for the presidential election, because that will probably be called earlier in the night. But for some of the other offices like the state representatives, state senators, Congress, who knows, if there are close races, that might take a little longer.
Right, and I understand that there is some money on the way, or has already gone out to a lot of town clerks to help them so that they can process ballots, they can have more people at the polling places. Tell us about that.
Yes, that's exactly right. We did send about $2 million out to the towns to allow them to hire extra staff, both in the clerk's office and in the registrar's office. The registrars are the ones that organize Election Day. So they have enough money, I think, to hire some extra poll workers if needed. We are asking them to do all the CDC guidelines. So, for example, we've provided PPE for every polling place. We've provided cleaning services. And again, we've provided the extra dollars that they may need for extra staff. And we have a volunteer poll worker recruitment program underway, so that in case there are people who want to volunteer on Election Day, because maybe our not as many poll workers work the same way. A lot of the poll workers in Connecticut are over the age of 65 and may not want to work on Election Day. So we've tried to provide as much assistance to the towns as we can.
Right, and before we head to the next segment, I had the chance to speak with Carol from the Connecticut League of Women Voters, who, had some things to say about fraud, and that, that's a big concern right now. But I want to hear your thoughts on that as people go to the polls and mail in ballots and worry that their information is not secret.
Yeah, I want to be crystal clear. Connecticut's laws are very protective. The only information is on the outer envelope, and that is all on a barcode for the assistance of the town clerks to be able to scan that in. We have had virtually no instance of what I would call ballot fraud in Connecticut. First of all, of course, we usually don't have very many absentee ballots. Our laws are extremely restrictive in Connecticut, probably the most restrictive in the country. And so this is new to a lot of people, but there should be no cause for alarm. We have lots of ways of making sure that the person mailing the ballot is getting it there. We have a new ballot tracking system this year. So, for example, for those who are worried that their ballot might not arrive, you can now check on our website to make sure, you will know when your application is received, and you will know when your ballot is logged in when it's mailed back. So I know there have been a lot of concerns, the Postal Service, all kinds of things, but I think we've taken care of a lot of them.
Right, because in Connecticut, town clerks do not send out ballots just ad hoc. They do it when they're requested. So you have to send a request and an application for a ballot.
That's right. And there's been a lot of confusion in the press about this because a lot of them conflate the idea of us mailing ballots. We are not mailing ballots without a request for a ballot. In Connecticut, you must apply for a ballot. We did send applications for ballots to every voter, and hopefully that helped facilitate the speed with which they can get their ballot.
How confident are you that this election will go smoothly and that we should know results fairly close to Election Day?
I can't predict exactly because there are always things that go wrong in various jurisdictions here and there. You know that. We've been around a long time, both of us. And so I think I am fairly confident that almost all the towns will probably report the results by midnight as usual. I think some of the larger cities and towns might have their hands full. But even there, the legislature did give them an extra couple of days to get the results in just because we knew it would be a different year. And I'm still very glad that we've done all this so that everyone will be able to vote without fearing for their health. And that's why we did all this.
Well, thank you for joining us on Face the State. Denise Merrill, Secretary of the State. I know these are stressful times, and I guess how well things go in November could pave the way for future elections, correct?
Oh, absolutely. We'll be looking at it closely to see how it all works and whether we want to try it again.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Okay.
Our phones can be used for all sorts of things, but now we can use them for contact tracing. When we come back, how technology is helping to protect us against COVID.